a button here. Okay. So, so a couple of the answers here: sharing documents, file sharing. Donna says she's using it for video as well. So for storing places, yeah, sharing documents. We have CFT subcommittees using it to share documents and storing group information. Yeah, absolutely. These are all really good answers. So yeah, those are the main use cases here for Google Drive. It's a file sharing platform for you, and also a file storage platform. So with Drive, you can think about it kind of like a flash drive on the internet. So when we were in person, one of the biggest use cases for Drive that I would recommend to faculty was that instead of bringing your flash drive to having to remember your flash drive or remembering like this is the last version of the PowerPoint that I saved, or forgetting your flash drive, you would always just be able to go into the room and then pick up go into the internet and pick up what file you need to on Google Drive. So it really helps, in my opinion, even obviously file sharing is a big thing, but just keeping yourself organized and knowing where all your files are. The other thing that it can do is you can kind of store any file there. It doesn't have to be a Google Doc or a Google Slides presentation. But you can store any file there, and if you put another version of it, it'll kind of just keep updating that same version. So it's really, really useful for just keeping track of all of your files. So I think that kind of answers both of them. It's, if you think about Drive like a virtual flash drive, I think that's kind of a good way to think about this. So without any more kind of further ado here, why don't we go ahead and get started? So to sign into Drive, you're going to sign in kind of like we've been doing to everything else. You'll just go to drive.google.com. It's drive.google. I think I can probably reactions now. Drive.google.com here. That in the chat for you as well. And you will be brought to a page that probably looks something like this, maybe, with maybe not as many files. It depends on how frequently you're using your Google Drive. Is everybody able to sign in? Yeah. So far, so good. Okay. Feel free to stop me if you have any questions. So this is Google Drive here. Let me just move this down a little bit. So that's basically just signing in. The first thing that I have, let me just check these off here. The first thing that I have here is creating a new Google document. So Google Drive is the place where all of the other Google apps get stored. So if you're creating Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, Google Forms, Google Sites, any of the Google apps that we're going to be talking about in the next, probably the next couple months, they're all going to be stored in this location. So if you ever created a document or you created a slides presentation, you can always find it directly just by searching Google Drive. So we'll get to that in just a little bit, but you can also create those documents right from Google Drive as well. So to create a new Google document, and we'll just start with a doc, but this is the same process for all the other things that I just mentioned as well. If you click the new button up at the top left of the screen, then you'll see, okay, what do you want to create? You can create a new folder, you can upload a file, upload a folder, or you can create a new document, sheet, slides, or forms, and there's also more as well on this list. So you can create lots and lots of other stuff as well, like Jamboard is here as well, which we'll be talking about next week, and sites as well. So for now though, let's just create a new Google Doc. So if you click on Google Docs here, that will open up a brand new Google Doc, and that's really all there is to it. It's just hit new and then click the thing that you want to create. So all of those just get created right from your Google Drive. You can also go to like the actual app as well. Like if you go to docs.google.com or slides.google.com, you can also create them from there, but just worth knowing that you can also create them right from Drive as well. Okay. All right. So far, so good. So the next thing that we have on the list is uploading a file. And this is probably where it's one of the more important things for us to talk about with Google Drive, because what you'll probably be doing, especially if you're coming from, if you're a person that usually uses the Word or the Office suite instead of Google Docs, or in addition to, but you just want to store your things in one single place, you can upload all of those files right into your Drive so that they're all in the same place. So you want to upload a file, you can just drag and drop. So if you have it in a folder or you have it on the desktop, you can just drag and drop it right into your Drive. But I'll show you the other way to do it, which is going by new, and then you'll click file upload. So if you just have one single file that you want to upload, you just click file upload right here. That's new, and then file upload. And then now maybe it will load for me. And I have a bunch of videos that I just made for Google Sites that I could upload. I have some pictures here. Let me see if I have any documents. I have some timesheets here. Here's a Word document. Let's do, this is my annual plan. All right, so we'll do the this assessment strategies document. So if I click open, it's going to automatically start uploading for me. And we will just give probably just a couple seconds and its upload is complete. So that's really all there is. Just click new, upload, select the file, and then it'll just start uploading for you. And if you click on it, you can actually open it right here in Google Drive. So that was actually a Word document, which brings me to our next topic here, which is converting Office files to Google Docs. So as you can see, again, this is the Word document here. So this is just, it ends in .docx. But Google Drive allows you to open those documents in Drive without changing them. So I could even edit these things. This is part of an email, I guess. I think there were some strategies here somewhere. But anyway, you can see that up here, it's a .docx. So that means it's still a Word document. So I can actually edit this as a Word document. So if I wanted to, for example, just like delete this picture, I can just click in there and delete it right from Google Docs. So I don't need to change it into a Google Doc to edit it. So Google Docs will edit your Word documents, or Google Slides will be able to edit your PowerPoint documents. So it just, whatever you're putting in, whether it's a Word doc, PowerPoint, or an Excel spreadsheet, Google Docs will be able to edit that directly within whatever the app is, either Docs, Slides, or Sheets. And the nice thing is that it saves this. So if I go then back to my Drive and then I downloaded this again, it will download as the updated version. It won't download as the previous version. Yeah, so if you take it back into Word, does Word understand it? That's a good question. So let me go back here and do assessment strategies. I'm searching for the assessment strategies, and it picked that up pretty quickly. I can also, if you click the down arrow on the search, you can also search by type. So you can see, okay, I want to search only for documents. So if you know the type, whether you're looking for a PDF or an image or a folder, you can just click that thing to say, okay, it's a document. And then, so if you're looking for something, like, I don't really remember what I called it, but I know it was a document, then you can always search there. There's other things you can do, like search by who's the owner of it. So if someone else is the owner of it, if it's not owned by you, then you would be able to find it as well there. But anyway, if I just search documents, assessment strategies, click search here, I should be able to find that one pretty quickly here. Yep, so this was the one that I edited. And if I right click on it and then click download, so I'll right click and then click on download, then I should be able to open that back up and we should see that Word has no problem with it. Yeah, it looks funny because I was using this paragraph tool last time. Let's do something in Word here. There. Yep. So, and I believe the picture was here. So the picture did get deleted. It updated it. It didn't change any of the formatting, didn't mess anything up. So this is good. Okay. All right. Any other questions with that so far? So the other thing that we actually had on the list here was converting it to a Google Doc. So even though I have it here in as a Word document, I can actually save it as a Google Doc, which would allow me to treat it like a Google Doc instead of a Word document. And I can do other things like embed it different places and do different things like that. So if I open this up, it's really simple to convert your files from Office to Google Docs. If you click on the File button here, you just have Save as Google Docs, and that's really all there is. So when I click on that, that will open it up here, and now I have a copy of this. So my original Word document's not going to get messed up if I change it or if I do anything else. It's going to be exactly the same, but I can do whatever I want with this Google Doc, and I can have all of the other features of Google Doc, which we'll talk about in probably a couple weeks here when we get into Docs. But just so you know that that's possible, that you can upload your Word documents or your PowerPoints or your Excel spreadsheets, and you can upload them, put them into Google Drive, and you can either convert them or you could just share them directly as those files. So you don't need to do this. It's just, yeah. Yeah, this is a good question, Donna. So what's the benefit of using a Google Doc file when using it in Google instead of a Word document? So with Google Docs, there's not really that much difference. One of the things that we'll talk about when we get into Google Docs is version history, so being able to see who edited what. It's similar to Word's track changes, but a little bit, I think a little bit more powerful. We also have the track changes thing, which is suggesting instead of editing here, but that would be probably one of the only things that I would say is the big difference between the Word document and the Google Doc. And the other thing that I guess you could do is you when you have it, well, you could even embed it there. So there's not really that much difference with Docs and a Word document. But when you get into things like PowerPoint and slides, there are a couple differences. Again, it's not really that much of a difference. It's more that I want to keep editing it in Google Slides. So I don't want it to be a Google, or I don't want it to be a PowerPoint anymore. I don't want it to be a Google or a Word document anymore. I want it to be like within the native app. So to answer your question, there's not that much, but yeah, so Claudia's helping me out actually. She said you always have an up-to-date document. There's no you don't have to keep sharing or keep emailing documents and worry about which version of this do you have. So that's fine. That's a difference between Google Docs and Word. But if you upload your Word document to Google Drive, you should still have that same kind of functionality. So you would still have, when you save that Word document, when you're editing it in Google Docs, you shouldn't have to worry about versions or anything like that, because there's no save button here. My favorite thing to ask people when I teach them Google Docs is, where's the save button? Because there is no save button. There's just, it's always saving every time you change something. So that you never have to worry about, well, do I have the last thing? Do I have the latest thing? Or if your computer crashes and you lost your last 30 minutes of work, that doesn't happen with Google Docs because it saves literally every time you make a change. So it's very, very fast. So yeah, and Christy says that this was helpful when teams were prepping for Baldrige. Yeah, so being able to share things, being able to always know that that's the latest version of the document with collaboration. Yeah, and Karen says, can you undo a change after it's been saved? Yes, and we'll talk more about that when we get into docs, but basically there is this idea of version history here that is basically like all of the versions of your document that you had. I think I only have the one version because I just uploaded it right now, but every time somebody edits your document, you'll get another version and you can go back and restore that version, or you can copy things from that version and paste it into your current version. So we'll talk more about that when we get into docs in particular, but absolutely, you can always undo things. You can always kind of go back and catch things that you didn't want to do or that were in the previous version. Mhm. Okay, any other questions with converting Office files to Google Docs? So the main thing that I've heard this being useful for is faculty that want to start using slides instead of PowerPoint. Instead of starting from scratch, you can just upload your PowerPoints right into Google Slides, well, right into Google Drive, and then open them in Slides. There is sometimes a couple formatting issues, but on the whole, it's pretty good. It's not perfect sometimes, but it's usually good enough to be able to go forward with. Okay. Any questions with any of that stuff so far? All right, so the next thing that I wanted to show you is how to create a folder. You can see I have, if I go back to my main drive space here, I have lots and lots of folders because I have lots of different things that are going on. I have a folder that's like all of the current stuff. I have the workshops that were for January, and I have just, you know, so on and so forth. I have lots of different things here. To create a folder, and I usually like to have this more condensed view instead of that larger kind of boxes. If you want to create a folder, you can click on the new button, and then you can just click the folder. It's the first one right there, and then that will create a folder for you, and you give it a name. So we'll just call this, let's say, Spring 2021 CMSY 182, right? So this is all of my files for that section of that semester's class, right? So if I create my folder here, now I can just either drag the things that were part of that, like all of my documents for that particular class, or I could upload them all into that folder, right? The other thing that I actually have a need to do right now is upload a folder. So that is something that I don't think I put on here, but I'll do that. So if you go to new, instead of uploading a file, so uploading one by one, if you already have a kind of class folder with all your documents in it, you can actually just upload the entire folder. And for me, I have a couple of folders with a bunch of videos in them. Let me see if I can find where, yeah, let's do Google Sites. So this folder has a bunch of different videos and things in there, which you can't see because it's just looking for folders right now. But if I click on Google Sites and then I click upload, it's going to start uploading all of the files from the Google Sites folder, right? So it says only do this if you're sure, and it's going to upload 30 files. Yes, I'm sure that this is fine. So we'll click upload here, and then it's going to start uploading. This is going to take maybe a little bit longer because they are videos, but you can see it already did one here. We have, let's see, here's my Google Sites. So we can see already that we should already have some files in here, right? So we already have all of my thumbnails here, and it's starting to upload the video. So it gives you your progress, tells you about how long you have left. Sometimes this gets crazy and says like 8 hours or 25 hours or something. Usually that's just because your internet is going very slow, but usually it's pretty fast. And this is a big folder because there's, I think, 10 videos in here, or actually maybe 20 videos in here. So. Okay, questions on that? So far, so good. Okay, let's see. Jamal says, I always tell students that need MLA style to take their Google Doc and save it in a Word document. You can. Google Docs should be able to handle MLA just as well. They actually just added a citations button as well, which I'm not sure you you want to share with them or not, if you want them to actually like do it with them or do it for themselves. But yeah, the formatting is a bit off. You should be able to get 100% of what you want with Google Docs, but yeah, it's totally fine. You can always have them download the doc as a Word, download the Google Doc as a Word document as well. And Donna's asking, what is a Google Doc extension? So extensions are, I think they're add-ons actually. Extensions are the Chrome extensions. We'll talk about that later on in the semester, almost at the end of the semester with Chrome, which are very, very useful. But they're kind of the same thing. These are little programs that work within your Chrome web browser, and add-ons in Google Docs are like little programs that allow you to do more in Google Docs. So we will talk about that a little more when we get into Docs. But I think next time I run this, I'll start with Google Docs maybe, because it seems like there's lots of interest in that. But if let me open one of these. So if I open my document here, I have add-ons here, and these basically allow you to do more different things. So they're kind of mini programs within your Google Doc that allow you to have a little bit more functionality. Let me see if this thing will load slowly or quickly enough. And I'll show you what that does. It's taking a long time. There we go. All right, so my add-ons, let me see if I have any add-ons for docs in this particular profile. Still loading. These are the last things to load. Yeah. Maybe, okay, let's come back to that. And then I'll let that load, and then I'll come back and show what that is. All right, so that's creating a folder. Let's talk a little bit about sharing. So let's say I wanted to share this Google Sites folder with someone on my team so that they could look at the videos, or I just want to have them watch the videos to be able to do what they need to do. So to share a folder or a file, it's this exact same process. What you'll do is you'll click on the folder or the file, and you can either click the share button right up here, or you can right click on the folder or the file and then click share there. And that is the same icon, the same thing. So you click on share. And I should cancel this upload, that maybe it's draining my internet speed here. I think I'm going to cancel that. All right, let's see. Okay, perfect. So this is one of the things that I get the most questions about how to properly share files and folders and things like that with your students and with other faculty. So to share a folder, you can do one of two ways. You can either share it directly with the person by adding their email here, or you can get a link and then send that link to them either in an email or in a chat message or however you want to get it to them. So it's really up to you. If I'm only sharing with one particular person, I normally don't get a link. I'll just share it directly with that person. So if, for example, I want to share with Hannah so that she can help me work on these videos, I'll click her name. So, or you could type in her email here. So if I just typed in edu, and then I'll click on her name here. Then what I can do is I can either send her a message or not. So if I click notify people, that's going to send them an email letting them know that, hey, Mike shared this document with you. So if I want to let her know that, then I would click, I would just type in a message here. So hi, and here is the folder you requested, or whatever, whatever the thing is. And then what I can do is just click send. But before we do that, I want to make sure that the permissions are correct. So right now, if I share this with her, I'm making her an editor. So that means she would be able to organize, add, and edit files. So she could delete files from here. She could add files to the folder. She could move them around within folders inside of that folder. So what I probably want to do is just allow her to have viewer access so that she can just view all of the folders but not delete anything from my folder. So a lot of times that's what we want to give to our students, unless we literally want them to edit the document or edit any of the folders or any of the things within the folder. And I guess it's worth talking about this. We're sharing a folder here. Everything that is under or inside of that folder, it's gonna have the same rights and permissions as the folder itself. So if I share the folder with Hannah and there's 30 documents in there, then what that's going to allow her to do is edit all 30 of those documents if she's the editor, right? So instead of going one by one, sharing one document, two documents, three documents, four documents, sharing one by one, I can put them all into a folder and I can just share them all at once so that I don't have to keep sending one by one. She'll get a lot of emails and it's a lot of work for me. So just by sharing one folder, I can kind of accomplish all of that at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to give her viewer access so she doesn't delete anything in the folder. And then I'll go ahead and click send. And then now it says a person was added and she should be able to go in there and edit the document. You can see that there's a little person on that folder now, whereas this one did not have a person because I didn't share that with anybody, right? So the other way that you can share things with people is if you right click on the folder and then you click share again, and then we're going to get a link. So that was just directly adding someone. You can see that now Hannah's on the folder and I can change her permissions as well. But if I want to just share this with a lot of people all at the same time, I don't want to keep giving people I don't want to add people one by one. What I can do is say get a link. So if I click down here in the get link area, I can change this from restricted. So right now, only people who have added to the folder can open it. So right now that's only Hannah and myself. So what I want to do is change that from restricted. And I have two options here. So we could change it to either Howard Community College or anyone with the link. If I say Howard Community College, that means that you're going to have to log in with your HCC Google account to be able to view this folder. So you will not be able to do this. You won't be able to see it if you're signed in with your personal account or with any other account. You have to have the @howardcc.edu email to open this, right? And that usually causes trouble for students because they don't realize they have that, or they're signed in already with their personal account. So a lot of times if it's not for a grade or I just want them to be able to access the thing, I'll just say anyone with the link. And then that way, regardless of which account they're signed into, whether it's HCC or whether it's something else, does not matter. That's what it's gonna be. So they'll always be able to open it. Yeah, and Jenny says that that's the #1 challenge. Yeah, and you've stopped keeping it to HCC because of that. Yeah, I shared this with you guys probably like one of the first couple of weeks. If you go to the CTE website, and I think it's HCC, actually, I think it's all together. Yeah, I'll put this in the chat here. This is a document that will take them through how to log in with their HCC. Whether they do that or not successfully is still another thing, but at least you can give them the directions. There's a video as well as step-by-step directions as well for just signing out of their accounts and then signing back in. Yeah. Yeah, give that as an extra credit for the midterm. Yeah, and Jamal also asks here, what happens to your Google Drive when you retire? That yours forever? Can you access it forever? No, that's a really good question. And that's also really important for your students to understand is that once you leave HCC, I don't know exactly how long IT will give you to remove all your stuff. I would say before you leave, you want to get everything that you want out of there. Whether that's on a flash drive or putting that to your personal account, whatever you want to do to it, you want to make sure that you have access to it, because once you leave, You will have to still have the HCC credentials to be able to get into your own account. So if you retire or you leave or you go somewhere else or your students graduate, you won't be able to access that particular account anymore. So you will need to move all your stuff over. Yeah, so how do you get a personal account? So that's actually the same as if you have a Gmail account or you have any other Google account, you already have it. You just need to log into Drive, and you'll be in your Google Drive. So there's no separate sign up process. If you have any other Google accounts, if you have a Gmail account or some other Google account, then you have all of these apps within that account. So you have the difference between the personal Google account and the one that you have with HCC is that your Drive has way more space with HCC. I think you have 1 terabyte, whereas with your personal account you have 15 gigabytes, which is considerably less, like 1.5%. So you can put everything that you want into your HCC account. You are very unlikely to run out of space. You have to record many hours of videos to be able to use up 1 terabyte of space. But just remember that if you leave, then you're gonna have to find 1 terabyte of space somewhere else. Yeah, so a good point. Okay. All right, so once you have set your permissions to the right place, then you're just going to click copy the link. And once you copy the link, you can send it in an email, you can post it on Canvas, you can post it in an assignment, you can post it wherever you want. And then that will give the person access to your folder. Okay. Any questions with sharing? So that's the exact same process for documents as it is for folders. Right. I crossed that off the list, and 9 minutes left on my folder upload here. All right, so another thing that might be useful, and this is a more recent one, probably 1 or 2 years ago, I think this came about, is that you can create shared drives among everyone in your team. This maybe is something to do to kind of combat that retirement issue or even the student issue kind of. If you go into shared drives, you can see I have several here. If I go into the Center for Teaching Excellence, and I can always I'll show you how to create one as well. Well, just what is this? This is a drive where it's shared across multiple people so that no one is technically the owner. It's a shared ownership so that if I leave the college, but as long as my document is housed in the shared drive, then my colleagues or the faculty members that are using it, they won't lose my document because it will still be here. If I leave and it's in my personal drive and they deactivate my personal drive, then that will delete the document and no one will be able to access it. So this can solve a lot of issues. This also makes sure that anyone added to the drive will be able to see anything that's in here. So what's useful about that is instead of having to keep sharing folders with the same people, if you have a team or you're working like on a hiring committee or you're working on something where you're sharing lots of folders frequently or you're on a subcommittee together, having a shared drive can make it really easy because then you don't have to share anything with anybody. You just drop it right into the shared drive and it's done. You can even, if I create a document inside of the shared drive, then I don't even have to share it at all. Whoever is in the drive will be able to access that document. So will it, yeah, and that's a good question. So last week Anne asked about switching or moving files from a personal account to an HCC account or an HCC account to a personal account. There is that probably won't solve this because let me see if I can add someone outside of HCC. If I go to, let's see, professor, maybe. I think that it's still not going to exactly work because you're not allowed to transfer the ownership of a document outside of the domain. So even though I might be able to be added to the drive, I would be able to access all of those folders, but I wouldn't really own them myself. And you still wouldn't be able to own, like to switch over the ownership of the file. So basically what I can do here, let me do that with the sites folder here. So if I say, for example, I'll pick this one. So this is just a thumbnail, but if I go to share, I can actually, right now it says I'm the owner of this particular file, which is the picture. I can say I want Hannah to actually be the owner of this file. So if I say the new owner will be notified and could remove you, you might also lose the ability to change the sharing settings. So it won't do that automatically. You would still be a manager, but you wouldn't, like if now Hannah said, okay, I don't want you, Mike, to be able to edit this picture anymore, then I wouldn't be able to, because technically I'm not the owner anymore. So that's okay when you're going from howardcc.edu to howardcc.edu. But if you're going from howardcc.edu to another domain like gmail.com or something like that, then you're going to have, it's not going to let you, because it's going to say that you can't transfer outside of the domain. So the long answer to just sum that up is no, that wouldn't solve it. So if you share a drive with students and you say view only, would that keep them from downloading? No, actually they can download, they won't be able to change it on the drive. So if you had a document, then they would be able to download that document, but they wouldn't be able to edit that document. So they could make a copy of it for themselves, but they wouldn't be able to edit that document. Yeah, if you want to stop them from downloading, you probably want to embed it into a site instead of sharing it with them. Yeah. If it's images, you want to put that in there. You want to put that. Yeah, they're almost always going to be able to download images, because they can always right click on it and do save as. So even whether that's Google or whether that's just on even in Canvas, they would be able to download your images. Yeah. Yeah, view only is just that they can't edit it, so they can't change the actual file itself. They can always make a copy of it or download it, but they wouldn't be able to directly edit your version of that document. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions with drives? We didn't talk about how to create a shared drive. So if you wanted to create a shared drive, it's really easy. Again, you just right click on shared drives and then click new shared drive. That's literally all there is. So just right click on shared drive, new shared drive, and then give it a name. This would just be Google Apps for Faculty, for example. Click create and you have yourself a new shared drive. So really, really simple. We can, just drop things in there. You can add people by going to manage members and just adding the people. It's exactly the same as when we were sharing things with other people. So if I just wanted to add Hannah to this, for example, add her here. I'm using Hannah for everything. And she could be a content manager, a manager, or a contributor. There are a couple additional settings here for people within the shared drive. Being a manager allows them to do well, actually no, this being a manager allows her to add other people. That's mostly the big difference, and change the settings. But other than that, that's pretty much it. And Krithi asked about computers. Actually, yeah, I'll show you that. So that's basically all there is to shared drive. If you want to add people, you can add that way. And everything else is just another kind of drive for you to have. So computers, I have computers here because I have something, I don't actually use it anymore, but I did have at one point. The Google Drive file stream. Let me see if I can. That's actually a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. I believe it is this one. And I want to, you have to install this. This is actually install the drop. Yeah, I think this is actually it. So this is Google Drive file stream. So what you can do, I wanted to just give you this link. What you can do is download this, and this will allow you to open your Google Drive as if it was a folder on your computer. So it can be really, really actually useful, especially if you just want to like move things around, and especially for organization. So just like I have the C drive here, I would have another one down here that would say like Google Drive file stream. And I think I had it and then it got uninstalled somehow. I'm not sure if IT turned that off or not. I believe it's still on and I think it still works. I just had it on my office computer and they took it off and then I didn't go back and turn it back on. But it basically allows you to stream your files so that instead of having to go and download your files, like let's say I wanted to edit a Word document, but I wanted to edit it actually in Word and then put it back on Google Drive, I could open it with Google File Stream and then I would be able to actually open it on my computer, save it on my computer to Google File Stream, and then it would work. It would work that way. Yeah, OneDrive actually should still be there. Maybe you might have to reinstall that. It's kind of the same thing, yeah, as the OneDrive. That's a good point. If you have OneDrive, I actually really dislike the way that OneDrive shares things, and it's for me it's just more confusing than Google. I don't know. Maybe if you're used to it, it's not as bad. But this is probably the same with Google. If you're not used to it, it's confusing maybe. But yeah, it's kind of the same thing. So once you do that, all of your files will also show up over here. So it kind of keeps a save for all of the files that you have in FileStream. So it's saving them to your Google Drive, but at the same time, it's just kind of local sort of on your computer. It's being streamed to your computer in real time, if that makes sense. Yeah. All right, so that is creating a shared drive. Actually, I did show this one. So the only other things we have here, you're very welcome. The only other things we have here are starring files and creating a workspace. And the workspace is a more recent one. So to star a file, you can see that I have the November newsletter starred here. And if the starred thing is kind of just like bookmarking it sort of, so it's easier to find. But as you keep starring things, you should probably unstar them after you're done using them, because then it's like, it doesn't, I don't know, it's just like a second drive and it's like everything is starred. So it doesn't help you that much. But if there are certain things that you're like, okay, I'm always using this particular document, or I'm always using this particular file, then if you star it, if you click on start over here at the bottom, then you'll be able to see all of the stuff that you starred. And I actually don't have a long list of these things, which is good because I don't use this feature that much, but I can quickly find the thing that I want. And then I can also unstar it. I think you just right click on it and yeah, and you can say remove from starred. So if I wanted to star something, if I go back to my drive here, then I can star a folder, or well, I'm not sure you can star a folder. Let's see if we can star this. I can. So you can star a folder. So if it's a very frequent folder that you're using very often, then you can star the folder. Or if it's a, something you're going back to every time, you can add it to starred. And then that will always it'll just put it in a different place, so it's easier to find for you. But that's basically all it does. Does that make sense? Can you pin a file to the top? That's a good point. Yeah, so I'll show you the way that I do that. There's not, I don't think, well, actually, yeah, there's priority, which is maybe kind of that. The way that I have done that is by using the little symbols. So let me go back. I'm sorry, I keep clicking around here. The way that I move a file to the top or pin a file or a folder is by giving it a symbol, because this is in alphabetical order. So if you put like an exclamation point or a $sign or a star or something like that, it'll put it to the top because it's based on the name. So that would be the easiest way to probably pin your file. The other thing that you can do is create the workspace, which is kind of what we were talking about next. In the priority, this is where you can create a workspace where you can create different, like, again, it's a little weird. I guess it might be for like projects, I guess, and then you would just be able to go into separate locations sort of in your drive, if that makes sense. So it's kind of, again, just another way to segment your Google Drive a little bit more. So if I wanted to add, let me just cancel this upload. This is So if I wanted to add something to priority, I think again, it's just right clicking and quick add to priority. Let me see if I can move this, move the workshops to priority. So let's see, it's not here actually. So let me see if do I have to just drag and drop? Yeah, I think it's not drag and drop. Okay, I wish this would load so I could show you this. I might have to create a workspace to be able to do this. There are some things there, but it doesn't quite show me what they are. I'll see if that loads and then I'll come back to that. What is the arrow on your console? Oh, the arrow is a shortcut actually. That's a good question. Let's go back. This thing is not loaded. I'm gonna duplicate this and see if it'll load in another tab while we're waiting. So this one here, right? So this is actually a shortcut because I added the this is actually not my folder. This is Hannah's folder, and she created this folder, and this takes me to her folder in that she shared with me. So that's why it has that little arrow on there. That's a good question. Yeah. It's like we're having kind of slow internet. All right. Well, let me create a workspace and then hopefully that will fix this. So again, it's basically create your own personal workspace you can save time by adding your most used files to a convenient workspace without removing them from their original location. So it's just another way to kind of compartmentalize your files. So if I'm using something for, again, let's say CMSY 182, this is my class. These are all the files that I'm using for my class. The nice thing is that it's doing this without moving them from their original location. So you only have 25 files, but if we add maybe just a couple of the files here, well, I'm just gonna add a couple recent files because I don't know exactly what's in this. Hopefully it will load. Sure, let's do this one and this one. So if I say, okay, these are for my my site or for my workspace here, and I'll add that, then this is kind of pinning. It doesn't like pin them to, oops, I'm sorry, it's adding more. It doesn't really pin them to the top of your drive, but it always does your most recent file at the top, but I think even I turned that off, but this should create a workspace here. Yeah, I don't know why this is not loading for me. It's supposed to be, shouldn't be that difficult for it to load, but apparently it is. Right. I'm gonna leave that alone and keep going over here then. So yeah, there's not really a great way to pin it up here. You can turn on the let's see where that is. Yeah, the suggestions. So you could make priority your default homepage, or you could turn on this is on by default. I turned it off because I don't like it, but make relevant files handy when you need them in quick access. So if I turn that on and click done, it should add my recent files up here to the top. So these are like the last files that I opened or someone edited. So that's, again, not really pinning it, but it's another way that it's like keeping your recent files up there. Okay. Other questions with any of these things? I think maybe this loaded enough to show the add-ons now. Yeah, I can show add-ons now. So add-ons are basically, again, just more advanced features that are separate programs that you're installing into each of the apps. So the one that I had here is advanced find and replace. So if I do find and replace here, it opens, I have 30 clicks per month. So this is a freemium one. So a lot of them are paid, but a lot of them are free, at least to use, because they have to give you some value. And then what I can do is I can find, it's just a more advanced find and replace that I can keep formatting or change formatting. And I can, use more different shortcuts and things like that. I can also like look for text that is a specific color, which again is just more stuff that Google Docs in itself doesn't do, but that someone has created some code to allow you to do with this. So so this is just one example. There's lots and lots of add-ons. If you go to add-ons and then say get add-ons, that's where you'll be able to find I think it's the marketplace, if I'm not wrong. They keep changing the name of this thing. Yeah, the workspace marketplace. So Auto Magical Forms, and there's like 2 million people using that. There's a Box add-on. Easy Bib is one that a lot of people are using. And you can see the stars, you can see the ratings, and you can add them from there, like add music notation, different things like that. So there's lots and lots of stuff here. There's, like I said, there's a lot of different add-ons, and you can search. You don't have to just like scroll through and randomly, but yeah, that's pretty much add-ons. Again, we'll talk more about that when we get into Google Docs, but just so you know what they are now. Okay. Nope. So you don't actually need IT's permission to get these because these are separate. They don't affect anything on your computer. They only affect your Google Docs. So this is all in the browser, just like extensions. You don't need to get their permission to do that. IT gets involved when you want to install something on your computer itself. And these are not installing anything on your computer. They're just being able to edit and read things on your Google account. So I would say, just as a rule of thumb, if you're worried about it, don't install anything that doesn't have any ratings. Make sure you have lots of like, okay, 4 stars is good. Even like 3 stars is okay. If you want to try a 2-star one, it's okay. But if it's something where there's like no ratings and nobody's using it, only like 10 people are using it, then probably you don't want to use that one. Most of these are fine though, because it's just written in Google Apps Script. So in most cases, it's not gonna try to do anything bad to you. But so there's always a chance. But again, if you pick ones that are a little bit more popular, then you shouldn't have any problems. Okay. Any other questions with Google Drive? I think that takes us to the end of our session today. Give a couple minutes if you want to write anything, or if you want to unmute yourself, feel free. Nope. All right. Well, then, thank you all for coming. I'm glad this was useful. This is, again, one of the more useful Google apps for sure. Really, really simple and easy to use. Hopefully, you'll get some use out of this. And if you have more questions, I'll be sending a follow-up with more tutorials and different things like that. But also just reach out to me if you have any other questions. And again, if you have not put your name in the chat, please make sure you do that before you leave. Thank you all for coming.